Ladies and gentlemen, all rise. We are back for a special bonus episode of The Devil's Due. Thanos demanded our silence, but we will be silent no more. We will rise up, throw our fists in the air, and talk about Infinity War.
It's time. If you haven't gone yet, man, don't listen. Okay, full-on disclosure here.
Spoilers. This is a spoilery episode.
So if you have downloaded this episode inadvertently and you're just like, I'm going to put it on my drive to work. No.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen Infinity War yet, if you have not seen Infinity War yet, you stop this right now, mister.
Knock it off.
And you go see Infinity War, then come back. And
yes. Then we'll be here waiting for you.
We're here.
With arms wide open.
Slow down with the Creed talk here.
I mean, I didn't think of it when I said it, but now they mention it. With arms wide open.
Oh, you had to ruin a good thing. You deserve that.
Scott Stapp dead yet?
I mean, do we care?
I mean, dude, the guy's a human being, so yes.
Is he, though?
Yes.
I mean, technically.
Stop.
Okay. I think he is.
No, I don't think he's dead. All right. Okay. We've spoken way too much about Scott Stapp and Creed. We fulfilled the quotient for that conversation for the entirety of the show ever.
The show's not going the way I thought it was going to go, Carl.
Right from the outset. It's just the brain, it doesn't function the same way it did before last Thursday.
No, it does not. We are in uncharted waters here, man. Look, I'm going to just come out with it up front. It's almost underselling it to say that this is the culmination of a decade of movies. It's almost underselling it. It's understating the fact that this really is. It has all built to this.
Yeah.
And with all of that under consideration, with as overstuffed as you might think this movie is going to be, so many characters, so much to get in there, you'd think, man, I don't know if they can pull that off. Oh, let me tell you something. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was mind-blowingly incredible. I can't believe that it all works as well as it does, and I can't believe they pulled it off.
Yeah, the way they kind of pulled the whole tapestry together. And, like, they're going back to phase 1.
Yep.
Resolving things that were left unsaid. And just the way they did it is just, you see the parts on the floor and you don't see the whole. You know it's supposed to be a bike at the end, but everything that's on the floor does not resemble what a bike could be.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way they assembled it and put it all together just it's unprecedented. And it's become commonplace to talk about what Marvel's been doing for the past 10 years. But I think this goes a long way to reminding us the complexity of what they have pulled off, of a continuous story that's been taking place over the past 10 years.
It's you said it. Like, I mean, full disclosure, as a standalone film, I do not envy anyone who has not seen any of the other movies. If you come into this cold, you might be like, I don't know what's going on here. But here's the thing. This isn't for you. It's not meant to be that. This is for the people who know these movies and have been waiting for it. And
it's
oh my God,
100% for the fans.
Yes, it is. And it gives the fans everything you ever thought you wanted and more.
And stuff you didn't even know you wanted.
Pairings I never knew I wanted.
Yeah.
Rocket and Thor.
Rabbit.
Okay. It seems a little weird on paper. In execution, it's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Spider-Man in space with Doctor Strange and Iron Man. Seems weird. It's awesome.
Sure.
It's great. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's so incredible how they pull it all together. And it really does all build to this, and they pay it off. Not only that, even like characters who, let's take for example Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I like Doctor Strange.
He might have been my favorite character in the movie.
Right. His movie was fine. Perfectly cromulent Marvel movie.
That was better
than cromulent.
Yeah.
But good, but like, he's the newbie, right?
Yeah.
In Infinity War, he's awesome.
Yep.
Like, he's better in this than he was in his own flick.
Yes.
He was super awesome.
I think that kind of comes with the baggage of an origin story.
Maybe yeah.
Now, in this one, we have a fully fleshed out, fully trained,
Sorcerer Supreme.
capable Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. Oh, man. He does so much cool stuff in this movie.
This movie does so much because, like, we've criticized DC in the past for being dark and joyless and whatnot. And
this is a dark flick.
This is a dark movie, but at the same time, it keeps that Marvel heart that is so central and so key to their success. It has that heart that they know the moments of levity. This one is not like a laugh out loud riot like the, Thor Ragnarok and the Guardians films have been. And Marvel films of late, with the exception of Black Panther, have gotten a little jokey.
Yeah.
This one is not that. This one goes back to the formula of moments of levity perfectly placed when they need to be.
Yes.
So that the film does not become too dark.
Sure. And that being said, though, the Guardians, though, despite not being written by James Gunn for the first time, they sound like the Guardians.
He helped out with their scripting.
Well,
he was brought in to kind of punch up their scripting a bit.
Then he did a great job because they look and sound and feel just like they should.
Yep.
And they do give you that levity. Drax, dude.
You can't see him.
How?
Dave Bautista doing his best John Cena.
I booed this man.
You did.
Unmercifully.
You did.
I take it back, Dave.
Take it all
He
back.
almost steals the movie. There are moments where I'm just like, he has so many memorable moments.
He does. I won't go as far as say he stole the movie, but he definitely, yeah.
Why is Gamora?
I'm moving so slow that you can't see.
Oh my God.
Oh man. It's just, I loved. I mean, you know who steals the movie. You know who owns this movie. You know who has their seat in his back.
I got a name in my head. Who? Tell me.
Thanos.
Ah, well, I was thinking on the hero side, but yes, it is. This is Thanos' movie for sure.
And we've kind of rolled our eyes at the whole Marvel villain problem in the past, and because yes, the Marvel. In past Marvel films, the villain has been weaker as compared to some other genre films like that. And we've said it's because Marvel chooses to emphasize the hero. They don't focus on the villain. There's a reason that Heath Ledger is the primary thing you remember from The Dark Knight. There's a reason that Jack Nicholson is the primary thing you remember from the 89 Batman, or Gene Hackman from the 77 Superman. I mean, notice I'm not even going into modern DC films. I'm just using those as a prime example. This film not only is Thanos's, but the Black Order.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Ebony Maw. That's kind of like the Doctor Strange counterpart guy, right?
Yeah.
I wanted more of him. I loved him. Just the way he was just kind of...
He's a fully indoctrinated minion of Thanos.
Yeah, he's
doing the dirty work.
Like kind of a shadowy version of Doctor Strange, where
sort of
is somewhat sorcery, but he's just much stronger. Proxima Midnight is a great character.
They're identifiable faces for the Avengers to punch.
Yeah, but there's more to that though, because I wanted more of them. When they kill Ebony Maw, I was like, oh no. Well, we said spoilers. We're going to be... Folks, if you haven't heard us before, spoilers.
Yeah.
When they killed him, I was like, oh, no, I was enjoying him so much. I want to see throughout what happened. And, like, Proxima Midnight, the other two I could maybe take or leave.
Okay.
But those, the Ebony Maw and Proxima Midnight were really, really cool. But But yeah, the second Thanos shows up on the screen and hands Hulk his green butt,
Yeah,
and kills
we establish
Loki.
very quickly Thanos is not to be trifled with. Like
Yeah.
it's one thing to raid the Asgardian ship that we last saw in Thor Ragnarok and leave it, wasted with all the Asgardians dead. That's one thing. But when you take down the Hulk as your first
Easily
big move,
take down the Hulk.
you have established that you are not to be messed with. That was kind of shocking, actually, but it also is kind of smart from a narrative standpoint because we have to. The Hulk is a little, he's so powerful that he's almost like a catch-all.
Yeah.
Like, throw the Hulk at him. Well, we can't because they basically established that he's stronger than the Hulk.
Not only did they establish that, they established that in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. So let's get back real quick. You said something really quickly. Loki. You think that's it for him?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I know I've had 4 movies with Loki bouncing around. 5?
Yeah.
Well, again, 3 Thors, 3 Thors, and the first Avengers, essentially.
First Avengers.
And the 3 Thor movies.
Yeah.
Is it wrong that I feel like he even though I've spent a lot of time with him, and I feel like he could have got a better send-off?
I think that's the point.
Okay.
I think what that opening scene establishes is that nothing is safe.
Nothing is safe. Yeah.
Everything is on the table for what could possibly happen. Kind of like going back to, extremely show relevant in Daredevil season 1 when they killed Ben Urich. A character we know to be alive and well to this day in the comics.
Yeah.
But that's for kind of establishing that this is not what has come before. At the same time, though, therein lies the slight problem of using the Infinity Gauntlet as part of story structure.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, the way the Gauntlet works,
Who knows? Right.
But yeah, Thanos fully realized in this film. James Brolin's performance is spectacular.
You don't see Brolin really. You
see him in the face a
little bit, but they did a hell of a job with the performance capture. Like he's great, and I get the impression looking at it on screen like I'm looking at a CGI Purple Man. No, maybe one instance or two where I'm cognizant of that. It looks great. He looks like a fully realized character.
Another thing we're kind of going to talk about a little later.
Yeah.
One of the things that Marvel's been very smart about doing, in which they mine the source material, the comics, is making necessary changes to make for a better film viewing experience.
Sure.
Perfect example, Age of Ultron. All they used was the title. Because had they borrowed anything from the Age of Ultron comic, would have been extremely bad. One of the things they changed from the Infinity Gauntlet comic in this was Thanos' motivations.
It's a subtle change, though, if you think about it.
In the comic, his motivation is strictly to win the heart of Lady Death. He's in love with Death. He wants to woo her, so he does that by wiping out half the population of the universe. We have no Lady Death character in this film, which I think is good. And his motivation is basically he's a galactic Ra's al Ghul. The universe can only support so much life sucking from it. So in order to balance things out, he wants to wipe out half the population, and he knows the Infinity Stones being brought together can enable him to do that.
Now let me throw this plot hole, air quoting, at you.
Okay.
And I will give you my spin on it afterwards.
Yeah.
If he gets the Infinity Gauntlet, why wouldn't he just make the universe bigger or give the universe more resources? Just double everything so that everybody can live. That's the plot hole that's being bandied about right now on the interwebs.
Because he's a bad guy?
Basically, yeah. Because despite his noble intentions and despite the fact that he thinks he's right, at the same time, that's all well and good, but I think at the end of the day, dude just wants to kill people. which he has done en masse before he even gets the gauntlet.
Yeah.
He's got no problem with killing people.
But you see a lot of, in Thanos, what we saw, most recently in Killmonger. A point of view that, taken one way or another can be seen as correct, and a certain level of compassion, especially when they flushed out his backstory with Gamora.
Sure.
You see the events in which, Thanos adopted Gamora and, what happened on her world with him wiping out half the population there. He's not a villain that you necessarily hate. Just not, at least not until the end.
Sure.
Till he really starts going through with what he wants to do. But yeah, he was just incredible in this film.
Fully realized it's his movie in a way. He's the main character of the film. They had a lot of work to do to kind of get there, because all we've seen of him so far are glimpses, a smile, a couple lines in the first Guardians flick, and and then that one scene where he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself" when he gets the gauntlet. That's it. So they had a lot of work to do to build him up and say, okay, here's who this guy really is. Here's his motivations, and by the way, we want you to care about him too. And they do it.
Yeah. Still not crazy about armorless Thanos.
Fair enough, but at the same time,
I would have liked to at least still seen the shoulder armor, the chest piece and whatnot. You want to take off the helmet, fine. It was something I'm like, this is cool and I'm loving it.
At the same time, by the time
he shows up in it,
he does, and you get the flashbacks with him in it too.
Yeah,
but I think from a story standpoint, once he has the stones, he just doesn't care anymore. Why bother being showy? He doesn't need it.
I know, but still,
I know. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
All right. So
let's talk about the experience of watching this film in the audience, because it was unlike previous Marvel experiences. There was a sense, at least on my part, there was a sense of unity in the audience. You felt the feeling of, we've been doing this for 10 years. We've all come here together. And when things popped on the screen, it got pops from the audience.
Everyone reacted to the things you would think that they would. But the other thing with that, though, is that this movie does things unexpected and gives you big moments that you never saw coming, or it builds to them and then executes them with such perfection that that audience went nuts, dude.
Yeah.
At several points in the film.
Yep. And what is, I think, unarguably the biggest surprise of the film, which is not even a major part of the film, but easily the biggest surprise. If you were to tell me, make a list of what my top 10 surprise things I think are going to happen in Infinity War, this would not even have entered my mind.
Oh? Whatever could you be talking about?
The Red Skull.
Red Skull
was in
shows
this
up,
movie.
Man.
Now, I learned earlier today, thank you to my friend Jim, I sent you the article earlier, not Hugo Weaving.
I knew that almost right away.
Yeah, it was recast. It sounded a lot like Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
I thought that Hugo Weaving was just approaching the role this guy has been in this place since, Captain America 1. So for 70, 80 years.
Yeah.
So obviously maybe his accent has faded over time or whatnot, but there's very good facsimile of Hugo Weaving. But it was not Hugo Weaving. But just the Red Skull shows up.
Red Skull's still bopping around somewhere, man.
And he's kind of caretaker of the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
And just where, I thought going in that the Soul Stone was going to be the final piece.
Yeah, and it's not.
I thought the whole movie was going to be they're trying to get the Soul Stone.
Right, and I thought it was going to be, I think I've said it on the show, maybe I didn't. I figured the Soul Stone was going to be the source of Wakanda's energy and magic and all that stuff.
Because the way they played it in Black Panther in the film, that made sense.
Sure, and we're totally wrong.
Yeah, we're totally wrong. So the Soul Stone is on a planet.
Yep, Boromir or something like that.
I'll just say Boromir, the guy from Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
And so Thanos has Gamora.
She knows where it is.
She knows where it is. He takes her to the planet, and there's a caretaker there, and the caretaker is the Red Skull.
Yeah.
And the audience silently popped extremely
There was
hard.
a gasp.
There was the whole audience, us included.
Yeah. I never thought I'd see the skull again, honestly.
Yeah. We're just like, oh my God.
Now, I don't want to get too ahead of the game, but do you think how significant do you think his reintroduction is? Without getting too ahead of the curve here. I'm going to say...
I think it's a seed.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
It lays the groundwork for... I'm not sure. Like, I would flip a coin right now to say if they had plans to bring him back, whether or not they did or didn't. But they want to make sure that the path is there if they want to bring him back. Because I know that in the past, and this was another thing that was a big surprise, that led to the surprise, since Iron Man 2, Marvel has been very anti-recasting. Like, if you're cast in a role, that's your role, and that's what you're gonna do. Like, even if they have someone in one of the television series or whatnot, they're not going to use that actor in a different role in the films because no, you exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's your role. So that was kind of a lot of the surprise that led to being Red Skull, because we knew Hugo Weaving didn't want to do it again. He hated the role the first time around.
Yeah, see, Hugo, buddy.
Well, I think it had more to do with the makeup than anything else.
Again.
Yeah, no, I get you. You won't do this again, but you'll do Megatron in a heartbeat.
Well, all you gotta do is show up and talk, but still the point being, buddy, pal, go. Why don't you go ask Terrence Howard about what we do with people who don't want to play nice with Marvel. We'll Don Cheadle you.
We'll Cheadle you.
We'll Cheadle you like that.
Oh man. So yeah, Red Skull being there, I mean, definitely plants the seed for a return. But
I've got thoughts on that, so we'll talk about that later on.
We're there. We might as well talk about it.
Well, no, it's all going to come to where do we go from here, and I don't want to get there yet.
Yeah.
So
where do we go?
Man, oh man. We're Cap's entry to the screen got a huge reaction.
Oh, I was shouting and clapping with everyone. The dude just walked on the screen and we're just like, okay, Cap's here.
Yeah.
There's that literal sense of, okay, Cap's here. Things are going to be okay.
Isn't that amazing?
It really is.
Isn't that amazing?
It speaks a lot to the performance and how the character has been structured, that just him appearing on the screen gives you a sense of relief.
Yeah. Dude, Chris Evans in those Cap movies are so good. He has that presence. When he showed up, it was just like, Cap's here.
Yeah.
It's okay. He's going to save the day. Stuff's going to go down. Cap's got it under control. Like that, it all hits you at once. Just by him walking from the shadows into the light and you see Captain America and you're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like, that's amazing to me that they pulled that off. That's, oh my God. As a Cap fan, warms the cockles.
Yep. And just like the scene with Wanda and Vision.
See, the Wanda and Vision thing was, I don't want to say it's forced, but we know it as comic fans, so we accept it on screen.
I didn't feel it was forced at all. I felt like it was to me, it was a very warm scene. It was done really well.
It's done well, but it's also like they weren't really together at the end of Age of Ultron. You know what I mean? And
no, but that was definitely alluded to in Civil War. They did a lot of that developing in Civil War.
Yeah, but here they are now, like together, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, here we are. That was the only pairing or relational thing that I felt like I wasn't as invested in character-wise. That's all.
I was still.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine because they execute it really well, especially later on when she has to, make the decision to destroy the Mind Stone. So I mean, it all works. I'm just saying, in terms of the primary characters, they were kind of like, yeah, they're there. It's cool. It's cool. They're there. I'm not as invested in them as with everyone else.
Yeah,
on screen.
So And folks, as usual, we're gonna be jumping around a lot of this. So Hulk gets sent back. Heimdall,
with his
R.I.P.
last ounce of strength, man, sends Thor to Earth sends Hulk to Earth to warn them.
Yeah, and he crash lands in the Sanctum Sanctorum and reverts back to Bruce Banner. And spoilers, Drew, that's the last we see of the Hulk through the rest of the movie.
We get partial glimpses, but Hulk don't want to play no more.
Banner's trying to get him to come out, and you can tell Hulk is scared.
Hulk is frightened. Hulk has been. Well, think of it this way: Hulk is the strongest thing that there is that he knows of. Anyway,
Hulk was like Mike Tyson, who just ran into Buster Douglas.
Hulk shows he's on another planet where he's a gladiatorial king. He is the man.
Yeah.
Now he faces a guy who hands him his lunch.
Yeah, it's not even a contest.
No, Hulk's scared.
Yeah,
it's weird.
And here's where a lot of the interesting dynamic that I was looking forward to how it plays out starts to take place, because Bruce Banner is back on Earth.
Yep.
The last time Bruce Banner was on Earth, everybody was one big happy family.
And they're not anymore.
No, they're not.
Yeah, the Avengers broke up.
So Doctor Strange's trip to the deli gets interrupted by Banner crash landing. And then they go to get Tony.
Yep.
And this is the first time Tony has ever met Doctor Strange. The dynamic between these two is fantastic.
Doctor Strange has no time for Tony's nonsense, really.
No, he really doesn't.
How do you fit that head inside a helmet?
Because we have someone who is just as smart as Tony, albeit in different areas.
Yeah.
And when you get two people that smart together, they're either going to work well together or they're going to butt heads.
And they do.
Yeah.
And they do.
So Tony kind of tells Bruce, like, everything that's happened. The Avengers are disbanded. Cap and I had a huge falling out. But now, like, Bruce is like, we ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
You don't understand.
Listen, your little beef doesn't matter. We're all going to die. Just call him. Just call him on the phone.
I love how Tony's frustrated that he has to use a flip phone.
Yeah.
It's like so aggravating for him to use his outdated technology.
And it's also in that moment of holding it, though, you could tell his ego will not allow him, even in the face of galactic death, he can't make the call. And unfortunately, they are interrupted before he can make the call. The Black Order show up.
Ebony Maw and the Hulk with an axe.
Yes,
looking dude.
They show up.
Then we get our first great fight scene, and we get Tony's new armor.
He's got some new armor, the nanotech
armor. Interesting in concept. One of the things I bumped up against in execution from a visual standpoint.
Could have spent a little more money on that.
Yeah, because not so much the times when he had the helmet on, but the times when he didn't have the helmet on.
Okay.
Very green screeny.
You could tell that he was wearing a suit and they just painted over him.
I was just like, Tony, just put the helmet back on, Tony.
Yeah.
Put the helmet back on.
Yeah, same thing with the Iron Spider suit, I felt. They could have spent a little more money on making those look realistic.
So, speaking of our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Spidey!
A big fight breaks out, and there's a big ship hovering over the city, and as you've all seen from the previews...
Carl, cause a distraction.
Because we're all going to die!
Oh, it's so awesome.
I can't wait to see Ned again in the next Spider-Man.
Man.
And we get our Stan Lee cameo. He's the school bus driver.
Haven't you kids ever seen a spaceship before?
Yeah. So Spidey swings into battle.
Sure does.
And it's at the camaraderie, the repertoire is still there between those two characters, and just throwing a Spider-Man into the mix just kind of adds to that, and they get on the ship. And big surprise, I was okay with the reason he took off his mask. Because he was losing air. They were going up higher and higher. He couldn't breathe. He took off his mask. So Tony has the the Iron Spider suit that we saw at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming
Yeah.
has Friday deploy it. It goes up to, and we have the classic, Iron Man suiting up scene, but we have it with Spider-Man, which is kind of annoying to me, I'm not going to lie.
In this situation. Come on.
And then we have, Tony tells Friday, send him home. So the parachute ejects and he gets pulled off. And for all we know, Spidey gets sucked off the ship while Iron Man's going inside. Nope, Spidey's still on the ship.
Mr. Stark, why does it smell like a new car?
Oh, Stark.
Oh, it's great. I got to say, man, the Iron Man Spider-Man relationship. Now, we went into this thinking, in Homecoming even, like, do we need that? Do we need Iron Man to be like you know what I mean? Like, we kind of rubbed against that a little bit. Here's the thing, though. In this movie, it pays off. Because it pays off for Iron Man, that is. And for Spider-Man in a way.
It gives us the emotional beat at the end.
Well, more than that, Tony's whole arc in this, Tony's whole arc over the last 10 years is actually pretty amazing, if you really think about it. Like, this is a character who's really gone through a lot of stuff, and his decisions and reactions to all the stuff have been the driving force behind all of this.
Yeah.
Like,
here's a guy who's still struggling with PTSD from the events of Avengers 1.
Right. And that caused him to, I'm going to protect the whole world in Avengers 2.
Yeah.
And that blew up in his face. Now the world's safe and everything's cool. So he's like, okay, well, now him and Pepper are going to, like, get married and have a kid. So now he's got to be like Tony in dad mode. That's where Spidey comes in. Now, there's already a weird... it's already been addressed that he's pulling essentially a child soldier into, like, Civil War, for instance. It's a little morally weird, right?
Yeah.
More so now, he feels even more responsibility.
Batman's over in the corner like, you call that a kid?
Right.
I hook him younger.
And that's kind of what in Homecoming as well. Like, Tony Stark's like, you're a kid. You can't be out there doing this stuff. And you're gonna get hurt. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's still a dynamic I bump up against, again, only because Spider-Man is my favorite character, and he has become the character that he is predominantly on his own, learning his own lessons. So I'm not crazy about the Peter Tony dynamic. I see what they're doing in the films.
He's still independent enough where he can still do that, I think, because he's still very young. He's still just a kid.
Yeah.
And looking ahead, we get the beat at the end where that father-son thing, like, kind of hits in a big way.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, let's just go out and say it. Like, Tom Holland, out of everyone that gets, spoilers, snapped away out of existence, Tom Holland, like, sells the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And that one pretty much got everyone in the theater like, Spider-Man. Like,
yeah.
And it hits Tony hard because that's this kid that he's been trying to protect, that he brought into all of this, and he couldn't protect him. How the hell, if he can't protect this kid with powers, how is he going to protect an infant back home? Tony's arc, dude, is really, it's really something. But yeah, Spider-Man, dude, was just great in this movie. Tom Holland is so
remember
good,
that
dude.
really old movie, Alien?
Yeah.
No more pop culture references.
I love it. I'm Doctor Strange. Oh, these are made-up names. I'm Spider-Man.
I mean, you see it so many times in the commercials and the trailer, but it still works when you see it on the screen.
It works because that's Spider-Man.
It does work, but at the same time, put your damn mask back on.
That's fine, but in the context of that scene, it's fine.
I don't care. Put the mask back on.
He's got the dialogue down to a science. It's great. He's got all that Spidey dialogue. So good.
It does, and it's fine. You know what I did kind of bump up against, though? When they get to the planet that the ship was going to, and they have the classic comic book tradition of when heroes meet, they got to fight. When the fight ends and Star-Lord Peter Quill
spoilers, the Guardians show up,
yeah, the Guardians show up, and the fight ends, and Star Wars Peter Quill is like holding the gun to Spider-Man's head. Last I checked, granted he's only half human, he doesn't have super strength. Peter, you do, and enhanced reflexes. Maybe not be boy hostage. No, just me.
It's fine.
Spider-Man is the character I'm going to be most critical of in all these films.
He's still young. He is learning his place. He starts off in the comics as a high schooler.
Yes, and he graduated high school well before even issue 100 of the original Amazing Spider-Man run.
This is his
He was a high schooler for like 5 seconds.
This is his third movie appearance. He's gonna get there. That's why they cast a kid, because they want him to grow up as Spider-Man. It's gonna be fine. Anyway, Thor pairs off with Rocket after meeting the Guardians.
Rocket and Groot.
Adolescent, teenage, rebellious Groot.
Who just has 0 F's to give.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. Groot just doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
Do you kind of miss OG Groot?
I do.
Yeah, me too.
I do.
Me too. I hope they get back to him eventually.
Well, they've said that
it's a whole new Groot, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Adult Groot.
Yeah.
The Rocket Thor pairing, man, is too good.
It's just fantastic. The whole Guardians reaction to Thor. It's just
Chris Pratt posturing.
Not today, sir.
It's like a pirate. He's like an angel and a pirate. He's like a pirate angel.
He's like a pirate. Oh man, but yeah, that kind of quirky band. It kind of goes off and does its own thing.
They found a way. This is insane. They found a way to pay off Rocket's 2-film obsession with prosthetic limbs What? Was that the plan all along? I have to know. Like, did someone along the way be like, so James, eventually in Thor Ragnarok, Thor's going to lose an eye. So when you're scripting Guardians 1, we're talking 5 years down the road here. Could you put in a line about Rocket stealing someone's eye? Could you do that? I mean, it's so good.
It's crazy.
It's insane. And then he meets Bucky, of course, later on.
That's a match made in heaven.
I gotta have that arm.
I gotta have that. Is that gun for sale? How much for the gun? He just picks up Rocket and basically uses him as another gun.
Oh my god. It's so cool. It's just all so cool.
It can maybe the best use of Peter Dinklage ever.
I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I couldn't tell you. But
yeah, I mean, obviously, his Game of Thrones performance is much more dramatic.
That was surprising. They kept that under wraps. And
it came out that he was in the film, but I just thought he was like maybe voicing one of the Black Order.
Right.
But no, Peter Dinklage is a giant troll in this movie.
Peter Dinklage is little? No. Peter Dinklage is big in this movie.
Peter Bigglage.
Peter Bigglage.
And he's great in it. And I just love seeing, but you're going to die. Well, something about like, yes, that's what death means. You'll be dead. Oh, it was so great.
Thor.
Yes.
We talk about Thor for a minute.
Yes.
This
very interesting arc for him.
This is like, when you said whose movie do I think this is, before you said Thanos, I was thinking of Heroes.
Yeah.
This is Thor's movie.
On the hero end, yes, it's very much Thor's
Thor
movie.
gets to be a god in this movie. Like, Thor is in this flick.
Yeah. We see Thor confronted. We have two characters who are confronted, who are traditionally used to being able to just punch their way out of problems.
Right.
Hulk and Thor. And we see their reaction to a problem that they cannot punch their way through. Hulk's reaction is to hide, be scared. Thor's reaction is to push forward, but you can still see the fear there. Like, even when he's saying what he's going to do to Thanos, he does not sound like he's even convinced.
No, and there's that scene when he's talking to Rocket, talking about, is that the scene you're talking about? When he's saying like what he's been through and what he's going to do and his plan, he like breaks down crying. He's like, he's saying all the things he's going to do and how enraged he is, and but he's saying it flatly and brokenly. Like, he is emotionally affected. His people are dead. All he has left is basically revenge. Like, that's it.
And the we do and we don't get a new Mjolnir, but it's not Mjolnir.
No, we get the Stormbreaker.
Yes.
So that scene was pretty cool. Now, granted, you could argue that they're just padding out the whole thing with him building it, like that's just set dressing. But at the same time, it is a demonstration of Thor, of his power. He's got to reignite a star.
Yeah.
And he takes the full brunt of it to do this, so they can make the Stormbreaker thing. He does that in a super Jack Kirby-esque machine, by the way, which I thought was super cool. And then once he wields the Stormbreaker, by the way, Groot, big ups, buddy, for providing the handle. Yep. Good job. Thanks for putting your Game Boy down for a moment. When he comes back to Earth, dude, the theater went berserk.
Yep.
Because that scene is awesome.
It was.
The heroes are getting handled. The Black Order unleashed like those suicide hounds or whatever, minions essentially.
Great guys for heroes to punch.
Right, but more than the Chitauri, which were like kind of humanoid. These are like rabid animals,
whatnot, and yeah.
These things are just rabid animals.
Fancier great guys for heroes to punch.
And
that's pretty much what it is, and I'm okay with it.
It's cannon fodder, but it's by design.
Yeah.
This time though, the heroes are basically getting handled. They're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They are being overwhelmed. Wakanda is being overwhelmed. Not good. And when things are at their most desperate, Thor comes back, and people went crazy.
Yeah.
That is like the hero shot of hero shots. Like, oh man! And then even doesn't Banner go like, "Oh, you're all so screwed now."
Yes. And I love the moments where Cap and Thor comment on each other's new hairstyles. Again,
I see you've grown a beard. My beard.
Again, those perfectly placed moments of brief levity that get you to kind of forget the direness of their situation.
Yeah.
We return to Wakanda.
We do. It feels like we were just there, but we're back.
Like we were just there, and we're so happy to be back. Some great scenes here.
Cap and Bucky get to reunite.
White Wolf. So happy to see Sebastian Stan back. Although ultimately he didn't do a lot in this film.
It's okay.
The characters are in the film. They're not all going to get equal share of the action.
But everyone gets something to do.
Yeah.
Black Panther gets something to do. Shuri gets something to do. Yep. Everybody gets something to do.
We even have a return of Thunderbolt Ross.
Ross shows up in this movie. Like, man. And it's not forced or anything. It's like, no. Like, him and Cheadle are having an argument about Cap and yada yada. Dude, of
Cap
course.
shows up. Yeah.
And there's Cap.
I knew they weren't probably going to spend a lot of time on it, but it was still a sweet moment. The reuniting of Bruce and Natasha.
Brief. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but that's still an angle that I didn't care for in Age of Ultron.
It was something they tried. I'm fine. I'm a sucker for characters who traditionally don't get a happy ending finding happiness.
That's fine, but I just don't like the way they.
I was fine.
I got a lot of sore spots with Age of Ultron.
To quote you, it's fine.
It's fine, but you know what? They had their moment. Okay, move on. Move along. Move along.
So yeah, we go back to Wakanda. So many things happening at the same time, but it flows so seamlessly.
It really does. Now, Thanos though is just laying waste, right?
Yes.
He goes to the part with the Collector dude. That was awesome because that scene comes to a point in the movie when you're not really. You've seen some of what Thanos can do with like the Reality Stone.
Yeah.
That scene was like, here's what I can do with the reality.
Yeah.
Here's what you're really up against here.
And some really cool throwbacks to the Infinity Gauntlet comics.
Yes.
With what he does to Drax, turning her into cubes.
Yep.
And what he does to Mantis, turning her into like ribbons.
Yeah. And Gamora made Chris Pratt or Star-Lord promise you have to kill me if Thanos gets me because she knows where the Soul Stone is. And in like Peter Quill, people are ragging on him in this movie because something happens later, but it's like he's an impulsive dude who doesn't take things seriously. He's an emotionally stunted man baby. Like, that's his character.
He doesn't realize the seriousness of the situation until it's too late.
So by the time he realized, like, oh, wait, number one, you were serious? You want me to kill you? Number two, I have to do this right now. By the time he realizes that, Thanos was already one step ahead. Bubble gun.
Yeah.
Surprise.
That kind of irked me a little bit.
Did it?
Because the bubbles were very clearly CGI.
Oh, I didn't.
And I was just like, really?
I didn't care about that.
We couldn't just make a bubble gun?
It's a little less egregious than the fruit scene in Attack of the Clones, so I'll let it go. I'll let it slide.
We're talking about movies that are separated by
I'm just saying. That's my bar. That is my
okay.
That's my outrage bar. You do better than that, you're okay. You're fine. Yeah, spoilers. They thought they were going to stop Thanos from having the reality gem. No, he's got it already. You're too late.
Yeah, there's no stopping Thanos. But we have there's essentially two big Thanos battles. There's the one on Titan.
Yeah. Well, is it Titan?
It's Titan.
Yeah, it is Titan.
Yeah. Between Thanos and Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Drax, Star-Lord, Iron Man, Mantis. I think that's everyone. Yeah.
Nebula shows up later, does she not?
She does.
Okay.
And there's a moment where it looks like they're going to win. Not unlike the moment, again, in the Infinity Gauntlet comic, where, there's a big fight that's ended, and it's the classic scene with Cap walking towards Thanos, and Adam Warlock gives Silver Surfer the nod, and Silver Surfer accelerates to light speed and has a moment to snatch the glove off Thanos' hand, but he misses it just by a fraction of an inch. We have a moment here where the heroes are coordinated enough, and
Mantis kind of has Thanos in a subconscious state.
And here's another there's another little thing I bumped up against. I kind of get it for storytelling purposes and whatnot. The fact that Thanos apparently has to close his fist to activate the gauntlet.
Yeah.
I kind of get that. It's definitely not from the comics. It simply responds to his will.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm whatever. He's got it.
They're trying to stop him from closing his hand, and they get to a point where they are pulling the glove off. Peter and Tony have, him tied up, and Mantis has him kind of almost subdued. Which I guess you can kind of make the argument of, okay, she can subdue a Celestial, but she can't subdue Thanos.
Thanos is brandishing the Infinity Gauntlet.
Fair.
I mean,
fair. No, that's good. But yeah, and then Thanos.
But Thanos, drops. They almost got the glove off. But what Peter Quill does not know, and that we saw previously, he killed Gamora.
Yeah, Gamora's dead.
Yeah, as dead as you can be pre-snap, anyway.
Yeah,
I was actually surprised by that. Because number one, she's a primary Guardian of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Number two, it's kind of an unceremonious death for her. It sells Thanos hard.
Yeah.
But I was surprised they would do that in this movie.
None of the deaths came as a surprise to me.
Okay.
Going in, only because I knew what we were dealing with.
No, I expected people to die, but Gamora was kind of a surprise. I just didn't expect her to die that way, especially that way.
Yeah,
it is kind of unceremonious. Thanos just tosses her off the cliff. Now, granted, we do get the beat where he apparently did love her as a daughter, which is
that kind of established that he legitimately loved Gamora as his daughter.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising to me.
More so clearly than he loved Nebula, who's his biological daughter. Yeah, that scene with Nebula being tortured, that
was heavy stuff, man.
That's kind of rough.
Yeah. Cool camera work, though.
Yeah.
How they, from the front, it looks like she's just hanging there. Then they turn to the side and she's pulled apart. Oh, that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So Gamora's dead and Quill finds out about it. Mid-beat down of Thanos.
The worst possible moment they could find out.
And he can't contain his emotions.
Yep. If Quill helps out to get the gauntlet off his hand, maybe
nothing happens.
But
Alas.
'Tis not to be.
And then in the battle that ensues, we had a fake out moment with Tony Stark, did we not? He gets impaled, remember?
Yeah,
Thanos?
well, we had the fake out there were a couple of fake out moments. Kind of going back further, Doctor Strange, when everyone's talking, he's kind of off to the side, and he is in a trance.
Yep.
He's doing the classic Doctor Strange, sitting cross-legged,
Yep.
floating in the air.
I love it.
And the green energy flowing around him. And Doctor Strange went and traveled to 14 plus million different timelines in which these same events are taking place to find if there are any timelines in which the good guys won. Drew, how many do you find?
One.
So initially,
he goes from saying, before they even get to Titan, I will do whatever it takes to protect the Time Stone.
Yeah.
I will throw you, Iron Man, under the bus. I will throw Spider-Man under the bus. I will lay down your lives to protect this.
yes,
He goes from that to, here you go.
yeah, gives Tony is stabbed.
Yep, Tony is impaled. I thought that I
thought that was it for Tony. I was like, oh, here we go.
But you know what? This is you're gonna laugh at this, but maybe not. I knew though, as soon as he got stabbed, a million things flooded into my brain. And one thing that flooded into my brain was, this is not you can't fake me out.
Yeah.
Here's why. You're smarter than J.J. Abrams, Marvel. You're smart enough to get your mains back together before any of them have to shuffle off. You're not going to kill Iron Man before he gets his moment with Cap again.
Yeah.
You're not going to kill Iron Man until the primary Avengers are back together for one last scene, at the very least, together before anyone has to die.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams, Han, dying.
It makes his
Luke.
death all the more tragic.
I know. I'm just saying. So that took that's what entered my brain. I'm like, no, they're not going to do that. Marvel's going to.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Marvel. They are going to give us those moments.
They are, and it kind of annoyed me that we didn't get a brief glance of like Thanos using the Infinity Stone to heal Tony, because the next scene we just see Tony spraying
nano stuff.
CO2. Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't think of that. Nano.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
To kind of save himself. But yeah, the condition that he gave the stone to Thanos though was, you have to let him live, and I'll give you the stone. Why do you think that was so important?
I think that is in the scenario that Strange saw in which they won. I think
this is going to come back to Tony Stark at some point.
I think Thanos getting the full Infinity Gauntlet is part of the scenario where the good guys win. And what tipped me to this was at the end, when people are fading from existence, everybody who fades from existence has a look of fear and agony on their face, except Doctor Strange. As if he knew it was coming, and was resolved to the fact that this is what had to happen.
Consider what he says when they're on Titan, and after he gives the stone and everyone's freaking out, like, what did you do? What did you? And he just calmly says, we're in the end game now. Like, plain as day. Like, this is happening.
Yep.
He knows what's up.
Yeah.
Or at least he knows what has to happen for them to win, and that is what had to happen at that moment.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're on the path to victory.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
But yeah, we get back to Earth and Thanos shows up, and kind of like back in the day when the Undertaker would walk into a battle royal or something. Dudes just started to get handed.
Yeah, he handles everyone. And Cap valiantly tries to stand up to Thanos.
Nope. Thanos just
punches
him aside.
Cold cocks him in the face. No, get out of my way. And the Vision pleads with Wanda to destroy the stone.
Yeah.
Destroy the Mind Stone. She does.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
And you know what? I knew that the second it happened.
Yep.
Because I was just like, he's got the Time Stone.
Yep.
He's got the Time Stone and he's got the Reality Stone.
Yep.
Either one of these would be sufficient.
Yep.
He just rewinds time, plucks the
stone out
from Vision's head, has the full Infinity Gauntlet, Thor has one shot.
Yep.
Kind of like, again, a call back to the comics with the Silver Surfer moment. Thor has one shot.
He doesn't miss.
He doesn't miss.
He stabs Thanos in the heart with the Stormbreaker.
Yep.
But
in the words of Red Leader from Star Wars, it didn't go in, just impacted on the surface.
no, he got him, but it didn't kill him.
Yeah. And Thanos simply says, you should have gone for the head.
Yep.
Snaps his fingers.
And we cut to white.
Yep. And then we have this moment where Thanos encounters Gamora
As a child.
and Gamora asks, like, did you do it? He's like, yes, I finally did it. And he's like, and she's like, what does it cost you? He said, everything. That shows us that he's aware of his actions. He's aware of the weight of his actions. And, we kind of go back to Earth and he's gone. He leaves. And sure enough, one by one, people just start to fade, disintegrate.
Yeah.
And
Now
it's just it's eerie.
It's
and
eerie.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. Here's the funny thing. And I think this is where being a super fan and being invested in the, let's call it the behind the scenes happenings and
the source material.
The source material and knowing what's in the pipeline, so to speak.
Yeah. I wasn't crying at any of this.
No, but here's why.
And you know I'm an easy cry.
Black Panther dies.
Yeah.
Right?
He's one of the ones.
And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God. But then my other brain kicks in and goes like, dude, Black Panther just made $1 billion at the box office.
It's for me. It wasn't even that. It wasn't even like the outside the work thinking. It was just of knowing how the Infinity Gauntlet works.
Yeah,
like
I guess
all of this can be reversed.
Of course it can. This is a moment though where I do wish I did not know as much as I know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I wish I could have that fan experience of just being like, oh my God, did that? Wait. They're dead? They're gone? What?
Because I remember, and I was talking to someone about this. I can't remember who I was talking about, but I remember back in the day when the Infinity Gauntlet comic was coming out, and it was issue 4 where they had the big fight when all the heroes showed up to attack Thanos, and he just dispatched them all with very little effort. And what's even funny is like I can't remember who he struck a deal with. He's like, okay, I'll give you guys like a 0.0001% chance of victory. I'll shut myself off from all the stones except the Power Stone. And they still got decimated. And it's the end of the issue and all these heroes are dead. You saw Iron Man's head go bouncing across the ground. And
I wonder if we'll get that scene later
like
on.
All of us are just like, how does this get resolved? How does this get fixed?
Yeah.
Like we're all like, sitting on front porches theorizing, well, Marvel still has the rights to Transformers, so maybe the Autobots are going to show up and I don't know.
Yeah.
There's still an element of that here because the key to resolving it in the comics was Adam Warlock,
who is not even in these movies yet. This Cocoon was shown in Guardians 2 and that's it.
Yeah.
That's not how it's going to go this time around, dude.
No.
Like I said, I think this is going to come down to Iron Man. Did you notice?
And this is, I know where you're going. This is an extremely valid point that I did not catch until you pointed it out.
Did you notice that the Avengers that survived the snap are the original Avengers?
Yep.
All the new ones are gone.
Yeah. The exception of Rhodey.
He's not original.
No, Rhodey's still there.
Oh, he survived? I'm
disappear.
sorry. Okay, I thought he did. Okay.
But he's still like close enough to.
Yeah. But, I mean, Scarlet Witch, gone. Vision, dead.
Yep.
Black Panther, gone. Spider-Man, gone. Doctor Strange, gone.
Did Rocket?
Rocket's the only surviving Guardian.
Okay.
All the other Guardians are gone.
Yep.
Cap, Thor, Tony, Natasha,
Bruce,
and somewhere on the farm, we presume, Hawkeye.
Yes. Absent from this film, Hawkeye
and Ant-Man.
and Ant-Man.
Don't worry, they'll be back.
Yep.
With a grand entrance, I'm sure.
Yes.
That's interesting to me, and that also tells me that this next one is going to be the last ride, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Hawkeye shows up because either his wife and kids are gone.
Yeah,
and Clint's not happy.
Sure.
I heard there was some speculation that he will be in his Ronin garb.
Fine.
New film.
Whatever.
Is interesting. But yeah, I think here's how I predict the ultimate ending, part of the ultimate ending to play out.
Of this movie or the next?
Of next.
Well, hang on, before you get there, can we just pause for a moment and no pun intended, marvel at how they ended this movie?
Yeah.
Cap gets up and everyone's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then Cap just goes, oh God. Credits. Like,
you're just like,
they lost.
Yeah.
And they end the movie.
Nice moment. And again, nice callback to the Infinity Gauntlet comics before that. We see where Thanos is.
He's on some lush planet.
Farm.
Yeah.
He's on, like, in the original, when he loses in the Infinity Gauntlet comic, he's basically exiled to a farm where he finds contentment as a farmer.
Well, he's looking pretty content here, although when he did the snap and used the gauntlet like destroyed itself, and Thanos like got wrecked using it. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
When he uses it for the snap, the gauntlet like crumples, and it hurts him. Like it takes a huge like his arm looks like mangled. So can it even be used again in the next movie? I have no idea. Like, it looks like it took a serious toll to even use the gauntlet the way he did. And that tells me that not anyone's... Like, Cap isn't just going to show up and pick up the gauntlet and undo stuff. Because clearly, it's going to require some power to use it again, if it can be used again.
Funny you should say that.
Yeah.
Because I think ultimately how it ends is somehow it falls to Cap to undo everything, knowing it will kill him.
Okay.
Because again, going back to what you said about wishing we didn't have that previous knowledge, Chris Evans has said he is done after Avengers 4.
I think everyone's done after the next one.
So Cap manages to get control of the gauntlet and undoes everything Thanos has done. Kills him.
Mm-hmm.
And then as part of the epilogue, Tony gives Bucky the shield.
Could be. I could see that, but at the same time...
That resolves...
It does.
The issues between Tony and Bucky.
Yeah.
And it's a clear passing of the guard.
Yeah.
And just...
But consider this.
Again, I think it's going to be much grander than that, but I think that's an aspect of it that I kind of hope they do.
Let me throw this at you. Here's a curveball. Given what I said, though, and what Doctor Strange said, this guy has to survive. I think it's going to come down to Thanos and Tony. Somehow.
I think...
Somehow, some way, that's going to be the sacrifice. That's going to be the scene. Tony's arc's got to close.
I think Cap dies. Tony's arc closes, but he gets the happy ending riding off to sunset with Pepper. I think he finally retires. I think he finally... Because I don't think
man.
You can have both of them go.
I do. I'll be honest. I think it's going to have to end definitively. Somehow.
We'll see. I mean, there's going to be a lot of theorizing
from a story
for
standpoint. It is. Totally. This is all what we call...
We only have to wait a year.
I know. I think, no, Doctor Strange needed Tony alive because Tony, it's going to come down to him. I just feel it. It's going to come down to him in the end. It began with the MCU started with Tony. This part of it, it's going to end with him somehow.
No, I can see again. I could see either way.
And now that
because you can also say that Cap has made that sacrifice once before.
Sure,
you can make it again.
Talking about the power it took to wield the gauntlet, I wonder I wonder, and just roll with me here, somehow, some way, because obviously they can't keep him out forever, Hulk comes back, and Hulk has to wield the gauntlet to do something. Because he's the only one strong enough to actually use it.
I'm not crazy about that.
I'd be okay with it. I think the Hulk that they've built in these movies is a very worthy character unto his own right. Yeah.
There was you remember the series What If?
Of course.
Every now and again, Marvel will kind of dust off and bring it back out. And there was a What If that involved the Infinity Gauntlet. And at some point, somehow, it ended up on Spider-Man's hand. And then we finally, and again, we're just spitballing here. We're throwing ideas at the dartboards here. We finally have the line. It's like my Uncle Ben always said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Demigod Spider-Man.
Sure. Maybe ages himself up a bit, skips high school, stuff like that.
I don't see it happening, but we have no idea.
Yeah, there's we don't know how it's going to end.
Post-credit scene.
Yes. Getting back to tradition.
Let's just get right to it.
Yep.
Coming full circle. It's Nick Fury. He's back.
Yeah.
And
he's back for a little bit.
Yeah. And right before he can get, shuffled off into dust, he uses the cosmic beeper. Did you notice that? It was a pager. That's brilliant. And who does he call, Carl?
Captain Marvel.
Now, granted, you're going to have to tell me why he didn't think to do that when the Chitauri showed up. There better be a good story reason for that.
I'm sure there will be.
Yep. But for now, so that was pretty exciting. Like, okay, here we go.
There was part of me that didn't rule out. Again, it was that 0.00001 didn't rule out the possibility that when that beeper dropped to the ground, it was going to either have like the name Richards on it or a 4. Because as much as we hear about,
I know,
there's just as much we don't hear about.
I know. I would have loved that.
Yeah.
And I'm still, you know what? I'm still hoping that
the pop off that would have happened in the theater. If
people would have lost their minds. And you know what? Let me tell you something. From a wrestling standpoint, where I'm, surprise returns are often the coolest thing in the world. If they could keep it tight-lipped, if they could keep something like that quiet, I'm telling you right now, we've done this before on this show where we have fantasy booked the future. If they can find a way in the next movie to wrap up the universe, to close the door, or reinvent it in a new reality or whatever, and they introduce the Fantastic Four, and they don't say a word to anyone about it, and they just do it on screen, people are going to flip. It's going to be insane.
The stinger to Avengers 4, just like you hear black screen or just space scene, you hear a voice. Master, the stones have been dispersed. The planet has no defense to you.
Oh, I see what you're doing there.
And then you just hear a much deeper, much mightier voice going, very good, my herald. Prepare my way. And then you just see a silver streak head towards Earth.
Yeah. Stop making me want these things, dude. Come on. You're killing me here. Because I want that now. Oh, incredible. We can dream. It could happen.
Could happen. We are in a world where we can't say it can't happen. Or we can't say it's not going to happen.
It could.
This is the world we live in now.
Okay.
Or another thing. Another thing I mentioned to you earlier. Hold on to your point. We'll get right back to it.
Okay.
Another thing I mentioned to you earlier. Something that happens, and it happened in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Hero cartoon. And it was such a cool thing when it happened. And I'd love to see him somehow incorporated in this. At some point, when Tony gets back to Earth, Tony reconnects to all the systems, everything. He says, Friday, initiate the new Avengers protocol.
Oh, yeah, you were saying
and
that.
then we see like just automated messengers go out to like characters that we have not seen before at all that just get introduced in this movie. It's not to say they need to have their own movie afterwards or what have you, but Marvel characters that have not gotten introduced before just get thrown into this one. Like, screw it. You could even, like, Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Have it go to Luke Cage, because on a scale like this, Luke Cage is kind of the only one that makes sense that they would kind of tap from that whole, like, Defenders verse, whatnot. Moon Knight, Ghost Rider. I don't know. Just surprise us.
Without poo-pooing your point, I think, and this is a whole different...
Because Stark knows about all these people.
Yeah. Well, does he? Do the movies even care about these properties? This is a whole separate point.
I think they do.
I don't think they do. The shows care about the movies, but the movies, yeah, go play on TV, kids. Anyway, without getting crazy into that, two points. Number one, first point before I get to my second point, which is kind of a diversion, but a good place to kind of maybe bring things home. First point regarding the Fantastic Four and Fox and all that. Sony made a very public agreement and partnership with Marvel for Spider-Man.
Yep.
And it was heralded as incredible, right?
Yeah, I believe the deal is Sony gets all the box office from Spider-Man. Disney gets the merchandise.
Not even worried about the particulars. Just the rights to use Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's Sony. And they're still going. Fox is in the process of getting absorbed by Disney.
Yep.
Marvel has said that they can't even touch that stuff until the ink is dry. So you're talking next summer at the earliest, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Why, if they're going through the purchase order, right? Why couldn't they have already signed, since they're not officially owned yet? Who's to say they couldn't have signed a deal like they did with Sony to use characters in their films? Except this time, they have not told anybody about it. They're not making a public stink about it. Why? You're buying the company anyway.
Yeah, they can definitely do that. I think for when they acquired Spider-Man, that's something you tell people about.
Yes.
Because people want to know that Spider-Man is coming home.
Yes.
For the Fantastic Four, I don't think you need to tell people.
No.
Just let it be a surprise.
Yeah.
Like, I think there are very few times I think Marvel could kind of wish they could kind of turn back the clock and change something.
That's one I wish they could. Well, anyway. It got us here, though. It did get us here.
One, I think the pitch I think they really wish they could have back right now was when they announced this phase and they announced the following Avengers film, saying Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. Because the impact of the ending of this film is lost a little bit in that we know Avengers 4 was originally considered to be Infinity War Part 2.
Sure.
So I think that's something that they probably wish they could have redo and not just call it Avengers 4.
Fair enough. We'll see what the title's going to be. My money's on like Avengers Assemble or Avengers Assembled or maybe Disassemble. But if that's how you're going to end this phase, Disassembled is kind of a downer. So I think it's going to be something like Avengers Assemble or something like that. And I think we'll actually get to hear Cap say it in the movie next time.
God.
Anyway, this movie's so full of spectacle and just jaw-dropping moments and character beats, and it's all earned. It took a decade, but it's all there, and it was worth all of it.
Yep.
Having said that,
here we go.
My immediate thought when it was over, or as I'm watching it, and all my neurons are firing like, how is all this possible? How is all of this on screen possible? Why do I care about it so much, and why does it work so well? And it's because they laid that groundwork for a decade.
Yeah, they took the time with it.
When the movie ended, I said to you,
"Yep,
DC, give up. It's over. You lost. You are the Avengers in this scenario. Marvel is Thanos, and you have lost. It's not even worth the fight right now."
And I completely completely disagree with that part of it.
It's over.
I don't think DC should stop. I think they should stop trying to do a
shared universe?
Not so much a shared universe, but a connected storyline. Do one-off films here and there. Have them leave the door open to cross over the characters. Don't worry about building to anything big. Don't worry about big end of the phase Justice League films, things like that. Just do your characters, do one-offs, leave it a connected universe but not a connected narrative, and just kind of go where that tide takes you. Because you're not going to compete with Marvel in that arena. You're just not. There's no chance.
It's over.
They're still perfectly viable characters for making films out of. They can still make good films. They're just going to need to do some retooling. It's not fair to compare them to Marvel because there's just no comparison.
No, that's my point.
They've got to
it's over.
They've got to do their own thing.
And maybe they will, but we live in a world where there was a Justice League movie, and it doesn't even register in comparison to Infinity War. It's not even, in the words of Jules Winfield, it's not a ballpark. It's not same. It's not even the same sport. Maybe your method will make a difference from mine, but like
movie making, foot massages,
yeah,
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Dude, Marvel just delivered a masterclass. It was almost like saying, "Oh, you had a little Justice League flick, huh?"
Yeah.
I mean, you did well enough tanking it on its own, but here's how we do this.
Typically, when we
I don't mean to pile on, but look what happened.
Yes, you enjoy piling on. You love piling on DC.
Look at it, though.
I know.
Just look at it.
I know. I'm the one who started calling it a dumpster fire.
There you go.
It still is a dumpster fire.
It is.
But
it's
things
over.
can be salvaged out of a fire.
Good luck. It's over. You can't go home.
Nobody's disputing that it's over. I'm just saying they don't need to try and... There's no reason going forward for DC to try and compete with Marvel. Just do your own thing.
But fans are going to expect... That's part of the problem. Fans want the big connected interwoven universe. They're going to expect it.
If you make a good film,
yeah.
Look at Iron Man. Look at the original Iron Man.
It's so hard.
No. There was no connected universe. There was no, even up until the stinger, post-credit stinger. It was a self-contained film. It was a good self-contained film, and fans went crazy. It was before any of this. If you make a good movie, people will come.
I'm not saying they won't, but I'm saying expectations are different now. Iron Man happened in a vacuum before any of this was a glimmer in anyone's eye.
And they can.
We're here now.
People can have the expectations, but they'll still go to see a good movie.
They will, but in the back of their mind, they can be like, "But how are they going to do it? People want this stuff now. They want the universe.
That's fine. They can want all they want. You can make standalone comic book films without a connective narrative. It's like I said, keep the universe connected, keep the door open. There's no reason to not do that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have a connected narrative. There's no reason to not do that. There's no reason, even though that this, competition is for all intents and purposes over and has been over for some time. This isn't even the final nail in the coffin. This is probably final shovel of dirt on the grave. The competition's over, but that's no reason for Warner Brothers to stop. They can try again. They can retool. You know what? If they had stopped, we never would have gotten arguably two of the best comic book films ever produced in Batman Begins and in The Dark Knight. If they had stopped, we never would have gotten those.
But that's no,
and that in and of itself is still self-contained.
That's pre-Marvel, though. We're in a post-Marvel again. We are in a post-Marvel existence. They have to.
It's been 10 years since we've been living in the Marvel existence.
Yes.
So the concept of a standalone superhero film now can be just as radical as the concept of a connected universe, connected narrative was 10 years ago. There's no reason for them to stop.
The genie's out of the bottle, man. They at the very least, they need to, what I would do, shelf Aquaman. Don't even release it. I'm sorry.
I would
put it all to bed.
That just doesn't make any business sense because you put.
I know it doesn't.
At least try to break even.
I know it doesn't make sense, but in my mind, put it all to bed. Go back to the war room and come out with a new plan.
I've said that for everything, even after this, after this Avengers story, after Avengers 4 concludes, I'd like everything to kind of take a break for 5 years. We know it's not gonna.
Yeah,
but I'm fine with them putting it on the shelf for a little while, but I certainly don't want them to quit.
They need to go back to the drawing board in a big bad way.
That's nothing new. We've been saying that for
I know.
a couple of years now.
I know, but it's definitive now. The game is over.
Yes,
time to go back
to nothing new, but like you telling them just to stop just doesn't. If you don't want to see DC films, that's fine. I still want to see these characters in films.
I'd like to, but I have no faith that they're going to be able to top what I've seen.
As much as I've loved the Marvel films, I've loved the Marvel experience, none of them have given me the emotional response I still have to the original Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah, I'm over that. Infinity War pretty much put the cherry on top for me. Like, I'm over here. I'm on this camp because this camp shows me a good time and gives me everything I could ever want, and they don't insult me.
That's fine. I like variety.
That's fine.
So normally after we do a Marvel film review, I usually ask you kind of where this film ranks. I think with this one, it requires a second viewing just because there's so much to digest.
It's high, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's very high. I almost have to put it above almost everything else because it is the payoff. So
yeah, I definitely want to see it again sometime soon before I can formulate that kind of opinion on it. But as we mentioned earlier, we had a guest on our show earlier this week, Mr. Dan Larson, and he was kind enough to stick around for a little bit longer to kind of give us some of his feedback on Infinity War. So now here's the brief segment we recorded with Dan Larson of Toy Galaxy and his thoughts on Infinity War. Okay, folks, we've been talking a lot about Infinity War. If you listened to our episode earlier this week, we were lucky enough to have Dan Larson of Toy Galaxy on, and he was gracious enough to stay a little bit after the interview because he had mentioned that he had seen Infinity War and was okay to talk about it. And as this is one of the biggest things that has ever happened in geek culture, who are we to deny a man who is generous enough to come on the show that opportunity? So please welcome back to the courthouse, Mr. Dan Larson.
Hello again.
Hello again, Dan. Okay, we've been talking Infinity War. We've been going back and forth about a whole bunch of stuff. What was your take? What was your feels? Give us your how did this film hit you?
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's weird because, as you guys know, going in, you can't help but try to figure it out before it happens, right?
Yeah.
And there's, I mean, since Iron Man 1, right? Like since we knew this is where this whole thing was headed, you're trying to solve this puzzle, put the pieces in place, and I just could never get away from the fact that whenever the Infinity Gauntlet is in play, nothing's permanent, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing's permanent. So going into this movie, I'm thinking, I know that anything could happen. Time travel, character deaths, character creation, alternate realities, anything, literally anything is in play. And whatever happens by the end of the film, none of it is necessarily permanent. So while there was some emotional impact to specific things that happened, I think a lot of that was tied more to the fact that I know that this era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is coming to an end. The Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, all these actors, all these writers, and these characters that we've seen for the last 10 years. I know that that's coming to an end. I know that Captain America is coming back in some form or another for the next 10 years, right? It's just not necessarily going to be these people. So the things that happen, I think, impacted me in the real world more than they were impacting me in the narrative world, because I know the Infinity Gauntlet is still in play.
Do you feel like this is the Empire Strikes Back of the MCU? Because that's kind of where I've settled in after some time to think about the movie.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fair comparison, except for the fact that at the time there was nobody knew anything about the world of Star Wars other than those two movies, and all this stuff about contracts and behind the scenes, you didn't know any of that stuff. And the stories that I've read about Harrison Ford was that, George Lucas knew he wanted to bring him back, but Harrison Ford was like, let's just keep him dead. I don't really want to come back for Return of the Jedi. Right? So these conversations were happening, but it's a different world now, like it's not like, none of these actors whose characters, didn't make it through the movie are going to be like, what if I just don't come back? Like that's not going to happen,
Sure.
And so, yes, I think there is a certain amount of Empire Strikes Backness to it. But again, we all knew going into it what the Infinity Gauntlet is and what it's capable of. At no point was there anybody thinking like, you're walking out of Empire Strikes Back thinking like, oh, well, but what if they just time travel?
Yeah.
What if somebody just uses the Reality Stone and just changes it and then it'll be different? So, I kind of... There's some of that, but it's almost like I know too much already to be that impacted by it.
When you saw it, like you've mentioned that, like how we know, and us being of the geek persuasion, for lack of a better term, who've read the comics and kind of know what the Infinity Gauntlet is capable of and what it does. When you saw it, did you see it with someone who was not necessarily a comic reader and only familiar with the films? And if so, kind of what was their reaction to it?
Yeah, I did actually. My younger brother took me to go see it, and he's up on all the movies. He had seen all the movies, but other than having me as a brother, he's never really been that into reading the comics and watching the cartoons and playing the video games and any of that other stuff. So the conversation we had immediately afterward was me sort of saying, like, yeah, but is any of this really permanent? That said, I fully expect a call from my mother, who's very into, science fiction and comic books. I expect a call from her, that's like, you need to explain some of this to me. What happens next?
They can't kill Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Is that what I really thought happened?
I had a bunch of people come up to me in the days afterwards who know, like, they know I do the show and they know I'm very into the geek culture. They're like, are they really dead? I'm like, yes, they're really dead
for now. Yes,
they are. I didn't even add that because I don't want to ruin that for them. Like I want, but even, and like you and I have talked about this, like, we know it's going to get resolved, but I don't know how, because the original story, the key to resolving it was Adam Warlock.
And they're not there yet.
And he's still baking.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that tease. That tease was at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, right?
Yep.
But it would be, this is, trying to outthink the narrative. I find it hard to believe that 10 years of buildup in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be resolved by introducing a brand new character.
I totally agree.
Yeah. This has to come down to Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And the movie Doctor Strange explicitly tells us exactly that.
Yep.
I'll give you the time stone if you save his life. Doctor Strange just saw 14 million different timelines, and there's only one where they win. So he makes that trade, save that guy, because he knows Tony Stark is the key to them winning.
Yeah, like I think you could definitely tell just by the look on his face when he was fading away that there wasn't any fear or anxiousness. There was contentment. So that's like, we kind of landed on, this is what happened in the scenario that he saw where they won.
Correct. Exactly.
So
right. He knew this was inevitable and had to happen for them to ultimately win.
So where does this, if you were to rank, as you like to do on Toy Galaxy, where does this film rank for you in the Marvel films?
It's hard because this one, more than any of the others, feels like it's only half a movie. I don't feel like we've seen this entire movie yet. I think once we see Avengers 4, then I think we're going to consider those two movies as just one big movie. And then I think you would be able to sort of rank that. As it exists, I don't know. It's hard to really put that in there. I think my favorite, hard to say, man. I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. I really, really enjoyed that movie. Winter Soldier is probably still number one for me.
Yes.
But I need to see that again. I haven't watched it since I watched Ragnarok. So I'm not really sure. Ragnarok was just so much fun. And both Guardians of the Galaxies are just a blast. Just fun movies. But I've always been a huge Captain America fan. So, if it comes down to two really fun movies, but one has Captain America in it, I'm going to give it to Captain America. So it's probably Winter Soldier. And right now I got to put Ragnarok at 2, and then maybe this. I'm not sure. I got to see this one a few more times.
Between Punisher and Cap, Dan, we got to hang out more.
Yeah, right.
You are speaking my language.
Okay, Dan, we'll get you out of here on this. Of all the stuff that has toy potential in this film, what are you hoping to see that we maybe haven't seen yet?
From Infinity War, the first wave of Marvel Legends that they put out, and even the smaller figures, were pretty clearly based on non-finished concepts, or intentionally based on non-finished concepts to not spoil anything. So the Captain America figure that's in this wave doesn't look like the Captain America that's in the movie. Like his shield his Black Panther claw shield things are different. His hair is different. His beard is different. And it's clearly based on an earlier version. Iron Man doesn't have, because, they don't want to spoil the surprises. He doesn't have any of those attachments. He doesn't have the big shield. He doesn't have those like laser things that float off of his back. The Spider-Man figure doesn't have the Iron Spider legs. So it's like, I'm hoping, and I didn't buy any of them, because I'm hoping that there's going to be an updated wave later that actually fixes all these things, that actually comes with all those bits.
I like to think, as they pointed out in the newest Half in the Bag, that the Captain America figure was based on Jay from Red Letter Media.
Right.
Because it looks just like him. It's frightening. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, Dan, thank you again for your time. We appreciate it. This being a separate episode, we'll give you an opportunity again to tell the people where they can find Toy Galaxy and where they can find you.
Sure enough, youtube.com/ToyGalaxyTV is the best place. That's got 3 years worth of videos there, and we're always updating 3 times a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I'm most active on Instagram at Toy Galaxy. But then you can also find me on Twitter at Toy Galaxy Dan on Twitter. Producer Greg's over there, too. I think his is Toy Galaxy TV. And then, of course, you can always head over to our Patreon. Help support the channel, patreon.com/Toy Galaxy.
All right. Dan, thank you very much for stopping by again.
Absolutely. Very welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Again, thank you, Dan Larson, for giving us that little bonus feature with him. Drew, I'm tired, man.
Yeah, it's a big.
It's a lot of programming we've given you this week, folks, and guess what? It was all recorded in one sitting. So I'm kind of out of gas, running on E. Gotta get home to my wife and baby. But before we go, let's tell you where you can find us. If you want, you can find us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can go to facebook.com/Devils Do Pod. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. Drew, how do we top this one?
We don't.
Oh boy. All right, folks. Thank you very much for sticking around. Popping in for a bonus episode. We appreciate it. Drew, any last thoughts?
No, sir.
All righty. Court's adjourned.